Seducing women is a game, and here's the trick: Machiavellian dark psychology. There is a version of you that walks into a room and women notice him. Not because he said something clever, not because he's the tallest man there or the wealthiest, but because something in the atmosphere shifts when he enters, something invisible. And then there is the version of you watching that man from across the room, wondering what he has that you don't. The answer is not looks. It's not money. It's not a secret line or a rehearsed routine. It's understanding. He understands something about how attraction works at the level beneath language, beneath thought, that most men will go their entire lives never seeing. Today you see it. Act 1. Why attraction is not what you think. Before anything else, we need to demolish the story you've been told about attraction. Because that story is the root cause of most men's failure in this area, and it is almost completely wrong. The story goes like this. Attraction is a feeling that grows when you demonstrate value. You show her you're funny, successful, kind, attentive, and if you do it well enough, she becomes attracted. It's a performance, a pitch, a resume dressed up as a personality. This model is wrong for one fundamental reason. Attraction is not a decision. It is a biological response. You cannot persuade someone into attraction the same way you cannot persuade yourself to be hungry when you're full. It either fires or it doesn't. And what determines whether it fires has almost nothing to do with the content of what you say. It has everything to do with the signals your behavior is broadcasting. Signals the female brain reads rapidly, automatically, and largely below conscious awareness. In 2006, psychologist Nalini Ambady coined the term thin slicing to describe the human brain's ability to extract accurate conclusions about a person from extremely brief slices of behavior, sometimes as short as a few seconds of silent video. We are all doing this constantly. And women, research consistently shows, demonstrate higher sensitivity to these rapid social assessments than men. What this means is that the most important thing happening in any interaction with a woman is not the conversation. It is the behavioral subtext running underneath the conversation. Master the subtext. Everything else takes care of itself. That is the premise of this entire video. Act 2. The biology of female desire. To understand attraction, you need to understand what it was originally designed to do. For the vast majority of human evolutionary history, choosing the wrong mate wasn't just a bad romantic decision. It was potentially fatal. A woman who bonded with a man who was emotionally unstable, directionless, or likely to flee under pressure wasn't just unhappy. She was in danger. Her children were in danger. So over hundreds of thousands of years, the female brain developed extraordinarily precise detection systems. Systems designed to answer one core question before a commitment was made. Can this man hold his ground when everything goes wrong? Not is he kind, though kindness matters. Not is he successful, though resources help. The deepest, most primitive question is about stability under pressure. Groundedness, the capacity to remain functional when the environment becomes hostile. And here's the key. She cannot know this by asking. People lie. People perform. The brain developed a different strategy. It reads behavioral signals that are very difficult to fake. The pace at which you speak, the steadiness of your gaze, whether you seek approval before expressing an opinion, how your body responds when you're challenged or ignored, how much of your energy leaks toward her, seeking validation. These signals are not under your conscious control, not unless you've done the internal work to actually regulate them. And that's the central argument of this video. You cannot hack your way to attraction through technique. You have to actually become the man those signals point to. Everything from here is about understanding what that man looks like and how to build him. Act 3. The leakage problem. There is a concept in communication psychology called leakage, and it may be the single most important idea in this video. Leakage refers to behavioral signals that escape a person's conscious control, signals that reveal the true internal state despite whatever deliberate impression that person is trying to create. Here's a simple example. A man is nervous in a job interview. He knows he's nervous. He tells himself to appear confident. He straightens his posture, makes eye contact, speaks clearly. But his voice has a slight tremor. His eye contact breaks a fraction of a second too soon. He laughs at a moment that doesn't quite call for laughter. That's leakage. And the interviewer picks it up, usually without being able to articulate exactly what felt off. Now apply this to attraction. A man approaches a woman he finds intensely attractive. Consciously, He is trying to appear confident, calm, interesting. But his nervous system is in mild panic. The leakage. His eyes dart slightly when she holds his gaze. He over-explains after she expresses mild skepticism. He laughs too quickly at her jokes. He adds qualifiers to his statements. I don't know. Maybe. Phrases that weren't there when he was talking to someone he wasn't trying to impress. The female brain reads all of this. Not consciously, instinctively. And what it concludes from the leakage is not, this man is nervous. It concludes, this man is emotionally dependent on my response. He is organized around my approval. He needs something from me. That conclusion, however unfair it may feel, evaporates attraction instantly, because it signals dependency, not strength. And dependency, in the ancient calculus of the female brain, means risk. Act 4, the mirror trap. There's a specific behavior pattern I want to name, because once you see it, you will recognize it everywhere. In your past, in men around you, possibly in yourself right now. I call it the mirror trap. The moment a man becomes attracted to a woman, his brain begins running a background process. Automatic, fast, and largely invisible to him. It starts modeling her. What does she want? What kind of man does she respond to? Who should I be right now to make this work? And then, gradually, and without realizing it, he starts becoming that. He shapeshifts. She seems serious. He tones down his humor. She pushes back on something he said. He immediately backs down. Yeah, actually you're right. She mentions she finds confidence attractive. He performs a version of confidence that feels slightly hollow even to him. He becomes a mirror, a reflection of what he thinks she wants. And the cruelty of the mirror trap is this. In the short term, it appears to work. She seems comfortable. The conversation flows. He thinks he's succeeding. What's actually happening is that he is becoming less real by the second. Dr. Robert Cialdini's research on authenticity detection shows that humans, especially in high-stakes social situations, are exceptionally good at detecting performed versus genuine behavior. We read it in micro-expressions, in the coherence of a person's responses, in subtle inconsistencies between what someone says and how their body actually responds. When she senses that your behavior is being generated by her reactions rather than your own internal compass, her brain reaches one quiet conclusion. This person doesn't actually have a center. And you cannot be attracted to a person who doesn't have a center. You cannot connect with someone who isn't fully there. Act 5. The power of having a self. The exit from the mirror trap is not arrogance. It's not coldness, contrarianism, or pretending not to care. It is something philosophers have described for centuries under different names. The Stoics called it the hegemonikon, the governing faculty, the part of you that remains constant regardless of what the environment is doing. Modern psychologists call it a stable locus of self. In plain language, a center of gravity that doesn't shift depending on who's in the room. What does this look like practically? It means you have opinions, and you hold them under mild social pressure without immediately folding. It doesn't mean you're closed-minded. It means there's actually a person in there. It means your sense of humor doesn't get diluted because she seems more serious than you. You're not trying to match her. You're inviting her to encounter you. It means when she challenges something you said, as a test, as a reflex, or simply as genuine disagreement, you can say, calmly, I hear you. I still think I'm right. And then move on without needing to resolve it. That specificity, that resistance to dissolving, is what makes you real to another person. Here's the paradox that changes everything. The less you try to become what she wants, the more she becomes curious about what you actually are. Because curiosity, genuine curiosity about who you are and what you're made of, is the cognitive precursor to desire. She can't be curious about a mirror. A mirror only shows her herself. She needs something foreign to engage with, something with its own gravity. That something is you, the actual you, edges and all. Act 6. Optimal Uncertainty and the Science of Mystery. In 2008, psychologists Aaron Whitchurch and Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran an experiment that should be required reading for anyone trying to understand attraction. Women were shown Facebook profiles of men who had supposedly rated them. One group was told these men had rated them very highly. Another was told the men had given them average ratings. A third group was told something different. They didn't know how the men had rated them. The question was, which men did the women find most attractive? Which did they think about most afterward? The uncertain group, by a significant margin, Because the brain, when it encounters incomplete information, doesn't sit still. It engages. It speculates. It fills the gap with possibility. And while it's actively wondering, it is already invested. This is the neuroscience of mystery, not vagueness, not withholding for the sake of seeming interesting. Incompleteness, the natural revelation of depth over time rather than in a single overwhelming flood. Behavioral economists have a related concept: intermittent reinforcement. Variable rewards, rewards that arrive unpredictably, generate far more engagement than consistent ones. It's why slot machines hold attention better than vending machines. Reliable is satisfying. Variable is compelling. The man with a full life creates this effect without engineering it. He's not always available because he has things genuinely happening. His attention, when she has it, means something precisely because it isn't the default. He doesn't manufacture mystery. He simply hasn't made her the organizing principle of his existence. And that single fact, makes him more interesting than the man who has. Act 7. Frame control, the silent negotiation. Every interaction between two people contains an invisible negotiation. Sociologists call it a negotiation over the frame, the context through which everything that happens inside the interaction gets interpreted. Whoever holds the frame controls the meaning of the interaction. Let me make this concrete. You approach a woman. She says, with a slight edge, "I don't usually talk to guys who approach me like this." In frame A, the frame most men are operating from, this is a status move. She has implied you are slightly below the bar. Men operating in frame either immediately apologize, justify themselves, or retreat. Both responses confirm her frame. Both say, "I accept that assessment." Now watch frame B. In frame B, you hear the same words and they land differently. Not because you've convinced yourself she meant nothing by it. She probably did. But because you are reading the moment from a different center. You see, she is testing the structure of this interaction. She wants to know if you'll collapse. Your response, unhurried, perhaps slightly amused, is, "Fair enough. I figured I'd say hello anyway." You haven't argued. You haven't justified. You've stayed. And you've stayed without anxiety. From her perspective, she delivered a line designed to produce either defensiveness or retreat. She got neither. She got a man who absorbed what was intended to be destabilizing and stayed exactly where he was. That moment of visible groundedness is what Machiavelli was actually documenting in The Prince. Not cruelty, not manipulation, but the recognition that people, in every context, are drawn toward those who seem immune to the pressure that moves everyone else. Act 8. Embodied Presence. There's a quality that sits underneath everything we've discussed. Underneath the frame. Underneath the stable self. Underneath the optimal uncertainty. It's the quality that makes all of the other things feel real rather than performed. It's called presence, and it is the rarest thing in any social interaction. Most people in any given conversation are not actually there. They are inside their heads, managing impressions, calculating responses, running quiet, anxious simulations of how they're coming across. They look like they're listening. They are actually rehearsing. The man who is genuinely present, who is listening without planning his reply, looking without calculating the effect of his gaze, speaking from what he actually thinks rather than what seems safe, creates an effect that no technique can replicate. Because presence is felt, it is not seen or heard. It is felt. Research from the University of California, Berkeley on interpersonal presence found that people rated as fully present, engaged without being anxious, attentive without being performative, are consistently described by interaction partners as magnetic, trustworthy, and compelling. Not because of what they said, because of the quality of attention they brought. And here is why this is so rare in the context of attraction. Attraction creates anxiety. The moment you feel drawn to someone, your nervous system escalates. Suddenly, there is an outcome to protect, something to lose. And the moment you are protecting an outcome, you have left the present moment entirely. You are living in a hypothetical future where she accepts or rejects you. The capacity to stay present despite that pull, to remain genuinely here with her rather than in your head about her, is what separates men who create real connection from men who only perform it. Act 9. The internal work. I need to say something that most content in this space refuses to say, because it doesn't feel like a cheat code, because it takes longer than 7 seconds, because it doesn't get clicks. No tactic in this video, or any video, will override a core belief that your worth is conditional on her response to you. That belief is the source code of every problem we've discussed. The leakage, the mirror trap, the frame collapse, the absence of presence. Every one of them traces back to the same operating system. I need her to choose me in order to feel okay about myself. You can study attraction psychology obsessively. You can memorize every framework in this video, intellectually understand every principle, practice every technique. And if that underlying operating system stays unchanged, it will keep generating the same signals. The leakage will persist. The mirror trap will keep springing. Because you cannot out-technique a belief you're still running in the background. The actual work, the work that changes how you move through the world permanently, is making your fundamental okayness unconditional. This is not a quick project. It's the work of building a life you are genuinely invested in. Purpose, direction, relationships, craft, so that your sense of self has a foundation that doesn't depend on whether a particular woman texts you back. It is the work of understanding your own anxiety patterns and where they actually come from. It's unglamorous. It's slow. It has no dramatic reveal. And every man who is genuinely magnetic, not performing magnetism, actually generating it, has done some version of this work, consciously or not. That work is the whole game. The rest is refinement. Act 10, the integration. 10 acts. One truth underneath all of them. Attraction reads signals, not intentions. And the signals that matter most are the ones you don't choose to send. Fix the source, and the signals fix themselves. Build a self with a center, a life with direction, a nervous system that can stay regulated when the stakes feel high, a capacity for genuine presence that doesn't evaporate the moment you're attracted to someone. Stop needing the outcome, not as a performance of not needing it. Actually stop needing it. Build something real enough that your happiness doesn't hinge on her response. That man, the man who has actually done that work, doesn't walk into a room trying to attract anyone. He just walks into the room. And that's enough. If this opens something for you, see you in the next one.